Here's a quick recap on the two big internationals that happened this weekend in the Southern Hemisphere. Welcome back to SkinnyBru Rugby, guys. So the Southern Hemisphere had two big internationals this weekend. It was pretty poor quality games. The All Blacks beating the Wallabies 36-0, and then South Africa having a match against Argentina 24-18. There's no SkinnyBru results this weekend, obviously, because there was actually no pool for this internationals. But remember to join the pools for the Rugby World Cup, and then remember to subscribe to the channel if you do like my content. I really appreciate it. Let's get into the games. So first up, it was the All Blacks sending out a message to everyone, just telling everyone what they are still capable of. It was a humiliating defeat to the Wallabies, and just 1 week after it was done to the All Blacks themselves. And it was also against a confident Wallabies side. The game, the possession was actually 50-50, territory 52% to 48%, and the All Blacks actually had less of both of them in the first half. The All Blacks actually got 24 turnovers from the Wallabies. That was an important fact for them. 9 penalties against 10. And 1 yellow card for the All Blacks again, so their discipline wasn't the best again. The Wallabies, they started the game off well, and they looked like last week again, where they had a lot of breaks and they spent a lot of time in the opposition half and in the opposition territory, but they just could not round it off. They had a lot of players just trying to go over the line themselves, and they didn't use the opportunity at its best. Other than the first 20 minutes and maybe at the end where Will Guinea came on, they didn't look like scoring. The main thing that they had as a problem was they had 26 missed tackles in that game, and you just can't afford that versus the All Blacks. The All Blacks, their scrums were dominant. They had the front foot this week. Just having the front foot on attack is very good. And then even when the Wallabies had an attacking ball, it was on the back foot because their scrums were going backwards the whole time. Mahunga, he looked better, a lot better actually in his position. That 9-15 combo, is it looking better? It did look a lot better this week. It is looking like it is finding its feet just in the nick of time for them for the World Cup. Because yeah, I've been questioning it a bit. I do understand the thinking behind it, but it hasn't been working on the field. But this week it did work, and I think there's a few reasons for it. I'll still get into that. One of them is Bill Williams being on the outside of Mahunga, with Aaron Smith being on the inside of him. That two very experienced players, they really helped Mahunga stabilize a little bit there on that number 10 spot. And then Bill as well, he drew a lot of defenders onto him. Instead of defenders rushing to Mahunga, they rushed to him. So Mahunga was on a little bit less pressure. That's what happens with the Crusaders as well. He gets a little bit less pressure on himself because the guys pressure Crockty and those guys outside of him. Guys that really stood out this weekend, out wide, Reese and Bridge, also Crusaders players. They scored something that Ben Smith and Ioane just could not do. Subsequently, Rico Ioane was actually dropped from the team. I don't think he's going to the World Cup anymore. He could still, but it looks like his chances might be up. The biggest thing that will be standing out for the All Blacks in this one will be that 9-10 combo that did actually do better, and then that scrum of them that did better as well. The world rankings, as for that, for them dropping to second place, a lot of people don't understand it and they're angry at it because they did have a big victory and all that type of stuff. It's just down to how it's been. In the last 12 matches that Wales and New Zealand have played, Wales have won more games. I think Wales have a 90% win record. New Zealand actually have lost three games, where Wales have actually just lost one. All the games that New Zealand lost, all the teams that New Zealand lost to, Wales actually have beaten them in that period. So I think it's in the last 12-month period, or was it last 12 match? I'm not sure. Sorry about that. I think it's 12 month. That's why the thing has worked out now, so that they are actually at the top of the rankings at the moment. For the Wallabies, their forwards weren't too bad. The front row, they were under pressure though. The biggest problem for me in the game was Nick White. After I was questioning him the whole time, saying he didn't have great performances, last week he really stepped up and had a massive performance, and then this week back to his old things again. But it was basically just, before he passes, he always gives 2 steps because he likes sniping. So he always likes to question the line. Now the All Blacks kind of recognized that, and they always had someone on the fringe of the ruck just going to him, and he was under pressure the whole time. So every time he was closed down, he passed quickly to the back line, putting the back line under pressure. Subsequently, Lealifano didn't do well because he got bad ball. Karevi had problems, then O'Connor barely had the ball, and whenever he had the ball he couldn't really do anything. He was closed down by Sunnyball Williams as well, and by Anton Leonard-Brown. So the outside backs for the Wallabies, they didn't do well either. Beale, he tried, but Anton Leonard-Brown really closed that gaps for him. And something Beale really struggled with this week was the kicks, the high ball. I think he missed 3 contestable box kicks or high balls where he just missed it completely, where he knocked it. So that was pretty poor for them. Something that did go well for the Wallabies in the back line, the introduction of Will Genia. The line did really well. Everything ran a bit more smoothly. So that's at least good signs for them. Then the South African victory of 24-18 against Argentina. It was not the best type of game you could have watched. And it was another game that ended with the ref being the biggest talking point of the match. The ref did not have a good game. He had poor calls. I especially thought the scrums weren't handled well. He wasn't ever in control of them. But we'll talk about that now. Possession wise, South Africa 45%, Argentina 55%. Territory 44-56. Both possession and territory was actually completely dominated by South Africa at a time, but they could not score. Scrums 7 out of 9 for South Africa versus the 4 out of 4 for Argentina. Thomas du Toit, he really struggled. I think this match did his reputation a little bit more harm than good. That spot that I keep talking about as that number 31, I think that might be up for grabs again after that performance. Tackling wise, 84% for South Africa. Their defense was very solid, especially when they were in their own 22 versus the 79% of Argentina. Penalties 10-11, so that was also not a good stat for them. Both teams, they need to do a little bit better on that front. The Argentinians, they will be proud of their performance. They looked a little bit better prepared for the World Cup in this one. The balance between their European based players and the Jaguares players are looking to be a little bit better. The last couple of games, you could see that the team has struggled a bit to combine, especially with the guys bringing in a little bit different style of play. The scrums for the Argentinians, like I said, went really well. South Africa was under pressure. Sometimes I have to say the South Africans were penalized and struggled, unfortunately, because of the referee. The referee didn't blow the scrums all too well all the time. Most of the time he blew it right, but some of the times the ref just blew the one way and then the other way, so that wasn't great for them. Getting to the point of the referee, before I get to the big Argentina woes that everyone is talking about, Kulisi's tackle on the number 9, I think in the 70th minute, that cost South Africa 3 points. Penalty should not have happened. That was fine. He tackled the scrum half after he picked up the ball. Actually, the scrum half actually had the ball in the air for like a meter already, so that was a perfectly fine. Kulisi came straight through over the ruck, so that was fine as well. He didn't come from the sides, nothing. So there was no problems with that. But so that did cost South Africa 3 points there. But Argentina's penalty try, that I have to say, that shouldn't have been a penalty try, so the referee was right there. A lot of Argentinians will disagree with me there, but just hear me out. The ball was bouncing in the air, two players were jumping up simultaneously. Reinach looked like to be in a little bit of a better position to receive the ball. He was a little bit higher and a little bit closer to the ball, because the ball actually bounced over Tukelet. It was Tukelet, right? Bounced over him. It was kind of behind his back. He wouldn't have regathered the ball if he maybe touched the ball, even if he had the slightest of touches to that ball. And that shove of Reinach, because Reinach shoved him for sure. If that shove of Reinach came through and he just touched that ball, that could have been a penalty try, but he did not touch the ball. He wasn't close to it. So that was not a penalty try. That was a good decision by the referee. It could have been a yellow card maybe, but aside from that, not a penalty try. Then the try at the end that was denied for the Argentinians. Should it have been a try? Yes. Why? Because that was not obstruction. The rule, if I just go into it quickly, the player stood his ground. He didn't move into the other player. He stood his ground. You're allowed to stand your ground. Think of it as in a kickoff situation. If the ball is kicked off, or if a ball is kicked over your head, the players can't change their channel, because that would be going into the other guy's channel and intervening with play. If he stands his ground, it's fine. And then also the guy that ran with the ball, he didn't switch his run around the player. He didn't change his running line. He actually continued with his running line throughout the move. So yeah, it's not obstruction technically, but due to that the try was scored. So I don't know, what the ref probably thought he's not gonna go for that, but I don't know. To me it's not actually obstruction. In the heat of the moment, maybe I did call for obstruction, because obviously, but having a closer look, yeah, no, it's not obstruction. But in the end, if you take that give that 7 points to Argentina, deduct the 3 points they got from Kulisi's kick that shouldn't have been a kick, South Africa still won by a very small margin, but rugby doesn't work like that. I know. Anyway, let's rather talk about the players and so on. Not a lot of the players stood out in the game, but I'm glad Brits opted in the start of the game to rather go to the poles later on. He went for the line a couple of times, 2 or 3 times, and then saw we couldn't get over the Argentinian defensive line, so then he went for poles, so that was good. The locks didn't impress for South Africa. Loose forwards, Kulisi, he had a good outing. Not remarkable, but it was solid. 6 tackles, he didn't miss any. I know someone said he missed a lot of tackles, but ESPN and Rugby Pass, I went through all of their stats. He actually had quite an okay game. He wasn't at his best yet for sure, but I think he will still get there. Of course, he is unfit still. He hasn't played a lot. Then Marcel Coetzee, unfortunately, he was injured. He was good. He did now miss out on the new training camp, 37-man squad that's now in Bloemfontein at the moment. So that's bad for him. Hopefully it's just because of the injury. Hopefully he hasn't been cut. Rassie Erasmus has said he still has an opportunity to be picked. Elstad, he had a good game. He was all over the park. He had a lot of tackles. Reinach, very poor performance from him. Too many steps with the ball. He was running with the ball the whole time. He didn't give that quick service that the South African backline is used to. And that interception try, that was a horrible one. You could see it coming from a mile away. Yankees at 10, they went fine. Centers, both had a poor game. That try that should have been for Argentina, that basically was on them. If it was a try, they were just, both of them just grabbing at defense, nothing there. Their defense hasn't been great. Jesse Kriel on attack, like I've said, great. Defense, not as much. But Jesse Kriel, his attack was also not great this weekend, but it's just because service from the inside wasn't quick enough. Then let's get over to the outside backs. Late, he did not get enough ball. Galant, again, not a great performance from him. And then the hero of the day, Sbu Nkosi. And what a position battle it is for that number 14 jersey between Colby and Nkosi. What do you guys think? Who should get that jersey? I prefer Colby still. He brings that X factor to the team, but maybe pick both. Put Colby on 15. What do you think? Colby hasn't played a lot of 15 for South Africa, so should we put him there? Do we lose a little bit of something when he's on 15? For Argentina, their front rowers went well. The front pack in general went well. Matera, he stood out. Bonilla at number 10, he also didn't play well this week. I actually was excited to see him because I've been wondering how he's going to play in the international jersey from the start. Didn't do well. Centers went okay. I still prefer De La Fuente at number 12 instead of number 13. He's just a guy that runs straight. He at 13 doesn't necessarily run straight all the time. De La Fuente, he misses a bit of that 13 edge you need. And then the wings, very poor on defense, especially Cancelliere, who I did actually question in the week before. His defense is a bit questionable. He didn't bring anything on the attack, so yeah, I can understand why the Argentinians might get a little bit angry at him sometimes. Okay guys, that's what happened this weekend. Let me know of your thoughts of the week. Also let me know of what you think I said, and then I'll see you for the next video, which will be tomorrow on the team of the weekend. Cheers.